Hi and welcome to my channel, and thanks for coming back if you are returning. I wanted to do this video because my husband and I were talking recently about like the Demiurge and this false like duality system that everybody is in, that pretty much if you try to walk this narrow path, which is the path of in Buddhism and the true path of Christ, that you will be, you're always trying to be pulled in each direction. And then people that are caught up in duality will also, like, I can't explain. I want to say they're like brainwash. If you're on my channel, you probably know what I'm talking about when like religious people are brainwashed, but Christians are like no doubt the worst. They've been brought up and set up to even have their retorts, all these canned replies that they have, and their specific verses memorized and things like that. So, I was talking to Bug the other day, it's Believers Underground. We were on the phone yesterday talking, and he was saying he was at the library, and a couple of people come up to him and said, "Are you saved? Are you saved?" And they were like, trying to win souls. And I said, yeah. I said, pretty crazy, right? Because the darkness doesn't perceive the light, but the light does perceive the darkness. And because the darkness knows nothing but darkness, it perceives no light. Therefore, it cannot perceive the light. And so it's funny to me, but part of getting your halo and getting your Christhood, you could say, or the Kundalini or whatever, is that the evil beings, when you put on this light body, this cloak of invisibility, they can't even see you. As long as you stay in this light, they can't see you. The more you sin, which is really just leaving the path of your destiny, then the more visible you become to them. And that's the veil that was placed in between them and us. So who runs this duality checkerboard, this matrix that we are in, and the tricks that they play, because they are very, very clever. I mean, they're so smart, you guys. The way that these people set it up, I mean, just when you think you've gotten to the core of the onion, there's another layer to peel back, and then you realize the layer from before was absolute nonsense, and this next layer seems like the next truth. And then when you get down to the core of the onion, only a little bit of people know the little bit of the onion, the truth. So, I mean, this has like about 101 symbologies, but that is one of them, the core of the onion. And so basically only a little bit of people know that truth, and that is the truth that transforms you. Actually, you talk about people saying you need to do this, and there's that, and there's this and that. Well, really, it's just knowledge. It was a sacred mystery teachings that actually allowed people to transform themselves into this alchemist, into this light bodies, or these light beings, or some sort of superhuman. And this alchemy would take place when they would learn the truth, would actually set them free. And what does saved mean? Saved means perfect, whole, holy, perfect human. That's what saved means. So I would turn around and ask that same person, like, well, are you saved? Do you know what that means? And most Christians that are new absolutely cannot be saved, because there are paths of initiation. I know a lot of people don't hear about the densities and stuff like that, but there are paths of initiation, and this does take time to go through. Like, for instance, I just came out of a 13-year initiation. So, I mean, these things, we have to go through experiences, just like Jesus did in his time on the earth. So, and everybody else that's been going through this, they say it's not time to learn right now. It's actually time to remember. And remembering and learning, and then what happens is you learn the sacred technology and the sacred symbolism and the sigils, and then you remember, and it kind of all comes together. And so we were just talking about that the other day, and talking about the people that are brainwashed and the Christians who are really cuckoo right now, and the rest of us who've been Christians for a long time are kind of like, what is going on with people? Like, in the churches are now pretty much all Catholic, and it's very strange. And so we've just been noticing around town a little bit of a shift going on with religion. And so I wanted to get into this duality, and what they've done is basically they have set up different deities. And what they will do, what the Demiurge is the person who actually draws all the energy from the human beings, traps souls, soul suckers, vampires, whatever you want to call them. These deities work under the Demiurge, okay? And you can say that they are fallen divinities, but they have never had bodies before. They are not human, nor were they ever, I'm not saying they're extraterrestrial, I would say more interterrestrial from here, but that's a whole other thing I can get into another time. But in any case, the Demiurge, what he did is set up this polarity, this duality. And that is pretty much the basis of all religions, that there is this bad with the good, or that you have to choose a side. You need to choose a side. And in another instance, it was kind of funny because a friend of mine who researches the occult, and he's in my video, Rosicrucian Possessed Man Speaks Out. And he's actually was in a fraternity from France and stuff like that. And then when he moved away, it's kind of almost like they chased him the fuck out of here. And when he left, his someone in his family, I won't say, but someone in his family was wearing like an Illuminati belt buckle, like full on. He said, I mean, this is what he said. And then he said, well, as long as you pick something, you have to pick something. Like something along those lines, as long as you pick something. And I think that this is part of this duality setup where what they did was they took deities that were a false light, you know, I don't want to like just put into names, but what they did was they took, I'm just going to get into it. I'm just going to start getting into it because people around here, they need to know the truth. And people in the rest of the world who are finding out the truth, you know, back me up on this shit. I mean, this is very real, what's going on with people. And the harder people to pray to this Jesus character, the worse the world gets. And so basically there are these jinns, which are a very hierarchy of entities, you can say. And these jinn are your gods of old, the ones that posed as gods. They need your worship. They need everything from you. They need your soul, your light, your one, your on. That's what they say. A light switch. They say we turn it on because the light is the one. You hear, if you see, 30 Seconds to Mars, Jared Leto, he singing the song about on his face is a map of the world from yesterday. And he's like, he can never get enough of the one. This is someone who wants the souls, and that's why it shows like the sex slaves going out and their mouths are like all, the lipstick is, and they've got the things, and it's pretty crazy. Look into that video. But, so that's why you say a light switch turns on, because that's the soul, the sun, the light, the one. And basically they need that from us. That's why the churches are all on these ley lines. And I found out here, Bug knows, and he said the earth ley line that we're on here is actually 57. And, which is Catsup, right? And they have the Cat Hathor goddess temple in the baseball park, and pretty much everywhere else, the post office everywhere is Hathor. So anyways, there's a fake Hathor and a real Hathor, and there's pretty much, they've done this with everything. What they did was they wiped out all the true divinities. They killed them all. They massacred them. There's like all kinds of Ioni massacres, Scene Divide, all kinds of different things that happened where they killed the divinities and then came in and represented them and like pretended to be them. So these jinn, these genies, Jewish, these genies are still working today, obviously. I do believe that the character that people worship, known as Jesus, is one of these jinn. I think that is why they say when the moon hit him, that sparks were flying from his head. And it's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, where the moon would bring out the true essence of the dead. So, and I mean, I'm just giving that as an example, because that's a really easy reference, but it's much more complicated than that. So don't come on my channel and be like, oh, don't you know Pirates of the Caribbean is just a movie with Johnny Depp? No shit, Sherlock, I'm aware of that, thank you. If I was going to choose any movie to be real, it would be Crybaby anyways. So anyway, I'm just using that as a reference. And, basically what they do is they have the churches on these grid lines so that when you worship and you pray and you give your soul source to these entities, they gain power over you, inside of you. I mean, everything, and they will be around you your entire life. And so that is why it is important to understand the duality, because they have set up good deities and bad deities, but they all work for the same devil. The Demiurge is the devil, okay? Satan is not the devil, different. Okay, all of these entities, all of these beings, all work under the same individual, under the same entity, okay? And so they've set up like the light ones and the dark ones. And the trick is, as human beings, which one are you going to choose? But multiple choice is no choice at all, is what I'm trying to get through to people. You need to find your own way, your own purpose. You have to drop this John 3:16 craziness. It's craziness is what it is. And we don't believe, I mean, most Christians are not supposed to be believing in human sacrifice. You think there's supposed to be one big giant, we're just going to do one big giant sacrifice. That way we don't have to sacrifice animals anymore. What? Wait a minute. So basically, they set up all these jinn, and that's what they really did to Christianity, was they slipped in I don't want you to say, but the false. They slipped in a false one. There wasn't even a character like that. They really took like a movement. They took a celestial cosmic event, because John the Baptist was most likely the Messiah, one of the Christos, and he is known to have been the greatest man that ever walked the earth. Okay, so then they brought in this jinn character in place of that, and that is the truth about Jesus and Mary Magdalene, is that they never had children or anything like that. It's not like that. So you have to look more into those stories, because those are more deceptions to get you to trip out or push you into one way. So when you get disgruntled over religion, people will like run to New Age. So people that are like not into religion, or maybe have not been able to get into Christianity or Catholicism, like whatever, Buddhism, any of the main sects, they like kind of created their own little new egg, and it was this new egg was called New Age. The new egg. And basically, if you are fitting into the other religions, you could mosey on there. But all roads lead to Rome. I keep telling people this, all roads lead to Rome. You know that, right? You have to make your own path. And basically, this is what they do. They set up different religions and agencies and movements, so that people will, no matter what, be steered back onto their path, and worshiping one of their deities. They don't care which one you worship, whether it is Jesus, whether it is their fake Buddha, whether it is their fake Krishna, or whether it is their fake Gaia. There's names that have been placed in there of beings and entities, so that you purposely give energy to them, thinking that you're doing something right when you are not. And I think it's important that people understand this, because there's a duality going on that you've got to break. You have to break the duality in this matrix. If you do not, you will get caught in it. You have to learn how to walk in diagonal paths, and instead of just trying to take this way and that way, okay, you have to figure out some way to make your own way. And that isn't, Jesus is real. I'm not saying that Jesus is not real, so please don't jump down my throat. What I am saying is that this character, this white Jesus that everybody worships, is not real. And this person who represented this character never asked to be worshipped, never wanted to be worshipped, was very clear in the Bible that he did not want you to worship or even pray to him. And he was very clear on how he wanted you to pray. So there's very interesting things going on with the churches now. And if you were to compare them to, if you were to take the Bible and really make a religion out of Jesus, it would not look like Christianity as we know it today. It would look far more like a drum circle or something, I'm quite sure. The Native American Indians, for instance, they used to just have like a amphitheater outside, at the bonfire, and whenever people just started worshiping or just felt like they wanted to worship or sing or celebrate, people would just gather out there, and people would usually gather around the same times, and if somebody just wanted to go out there and, do whatever, then they were welcome to do it at any time. So that would be more like what Christ had created, not these institutions, not these religious governments that are being actually controlling towns now. So, I mean, the Mormons, all these different religions are highly involved in this mind control. It is no longer an experiment. People always say, oh, we're under a mind control experiment. Bullshit. This is underway. Get it? So, and that's interesting, you know, to get into this stuff if you live in this area, because like I said, it's really shitty with it in this area. I could say that, but the polarity is pretty Christian dominated around here, when they don't know that they're serving the devil. They just think that they're serving this Jesus character, and then they're giving their worship. If they feel good, they get blissed in exchange. So what happens when you get all this bliss? When you get the bliss, you don't get your crossroads, you don't get your trials, you don't get the things that you need to become strong on this plane. You don't get the things that you need to become a warrior, a soldier, a leader, a follower, a pusher, a puller, you know, everything that you need to be, a jerk of all trades, as I call it, you know, in this existence. When you get blissed by these beings, you just go through life, you know, and then you die. And, that's something else, you know. So you die and you find out, oh shit, I did not build up my soul energy while I was giving it away and getting a feeling for. You're like actually buying bliss with your soul. That's what you're doing. You're buying bliss with your soul, and then they're buying energy with your bliss, which is very real in the Tesla machine. That is what's going on. They're actually harvesting human energy, as crazy as it sounds. I didn't make this stuff up. I learned it from several different people who, as far as I know, don't know each other. So that is my take on what's going on with the polarities. I don't believe that. I mean, there's all kinds of people saying that that the like Asian gods had different gods than American gods. You couldn't call forth the kamikaze spirit of a kamikaze, you know, and different stuff like that. So I don't really buy that, and I'm going to get into another video about that. But because these entities are pretty much, they really don't give a shit who you are as long as you serve them. And as soon as you break away from this servant and master mentality, you will be enlightened. And when you go on the real path of love, which really means when you get the halo, as people call it, or the illumination, like I did, then you get what are called, you know, God's eyes, the eyes of God, or they say ancient eyes. It's not third eye. I'm not talking about that. You just, old people, especially older people, later age, middle age people, who are really stuck in their ways, and it's very difficult to get through to them sometimes. And you just look at them, and I see them just even less sophisticated than I see children, because the children are free. They're without shame. But the adults and the older people, you know, older in age especially, you know, I see them as children. I just see them like one of my friends said to me the other day that a Buddhist did his tattoo, told him, you know, we're all suffering. And that is true. We are all suffering. We're all being treated like children. None of us are living long enough to really meet our potential. You know, we're all suffering, and that's true. And we're I mean, everybody was born into this. Not everybody is gonna, you know, have it like I had it, you know. I certainly had this a long time ago, starting in 1999 and starting in 1993, to bring this message to people. This is something, like, people were like so funny. Like, I'll do a video on this, like, oh, Tony's gone crazy. Like, yeah, she went crazy. Like, I have always been this way, people. Don't get it twisted. In this picture, I'm like fucking homeless, dude. I'm in the paper, and I'm like trying to find a place to live with like a crackhead in a trailer. Seriously. So it's not everybody is going to have that crazy of a life, and not everybody needs to. But in any case, I'll get into this story another time, and all that stuff. But so I would encourage people to start looking into the false light, these light workers. Light workers actually do work for Lucifer, but you kind of got to get a better handle on who Lucifer is, and I am in no way, shape, or form saying to worship Lucifer. I'm just saying you got to kind of get a handle on who that character is. It's only mentioned once in the Bible. A Messiah comes from that. And also, what else was I going to say? I just wonder if that's true and Lucifer was a good character, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad, because Lucifer gives us our crossroads, and that's what makes people hate Lucifer. But there's a reason that Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz in the show, it's called I Love Lucy. Why do they want everybody to be saying, oh, I love Lucy? And Lucy is this red-headed character, and her husband looks like Yahweh. And if you don't know the lore on Yahweh, Yahweh very much looks like Elvis. And he just looks, he's got like the little bit of a pompadour, and he always looks a certain way. They always portray him as looking a certain way. Yahweh. So, a certain Yahweh. And then they have her with like the red hair, and she's Lucy. So, these are the same people who gave us Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra, you know, Artichoke, Stargate, all these different projects. So why do they want us to say that? If it's a good character, why would they want to be giving it power? Why would they name their satellites and stuff after it? That's all I'm saying. Is people are not in the majority's best interest, which I have my own feelings about too. The majority of people are stupid, like I said. I try to see them as children, but I mean, the fact of the matter is they really are lost. They really are lost. Most people really are truly lost. And what my understanding of this event is that everybody's going to be where they're most comfortable. There's not really anything to feel bad about, like, oh, so-and-so is going here. Everybody's going to go where they're going to be most comfortable. So that's something to think about. You know, why would you want to have heathenistic or riotous or cruel or evil people in a place where only perfect people are allowed? Only people who are saved or holy or ascended or whatever. So anyways, I encourage a lot of people to be thinking about these dualities and this Demiurge. And the Demiurge is an archonic force, and it is running this matrix. And when this cosmic light comes back, which it's already coming back, it's already started. If I woke up and I started, then it started. It's already started. Other people, I'm not the only one. I'm not saying it's because of me. It's like a whole bunch of people. So it's already started. And this stellar activation cycle has already begun, and so basically it's like the time of Moses, where everybody started to wake up and realize who they were. Some of us were these gods and goddesses, but we never called ourselves that, and nor did people worship us. There was a mistake. Oh, they just started worshiping, you know, the beings as gods. No, that's not true. That is not true. We are all brothers and sisters, and that is not true. These are other archonic or demonic or whatever you want to call them, entities coming in and tricking you and getting you into a slave religion. Rely on jinn. Get it? Religion. Rely on jinn. I don't need to rely on jinn. That's like what you need to understand, is that you don't need to rely on these genies for your wishes. Jewish, you know, genie, genus, Guinness. Notice how the beer Guinness has a harp on it. Get it? So that's just a small, like, it's kind of going on long. My videos can go so long now, so I probably should just add something back on my phone so it doesn't let me anymore. But I'm going to share a couple of poems and dreams and different things like that shortly. And then we can, I wanted to get into a little bit of that stuff, but trying to think if, is there anything else? I'm trying to think of how I came across this website when this guy was talking about the Demiurge, and a lot of it I already knew about the Demiurge, but it was very good the way he put it into perspective. And I gotta tell you guys, people are like doing channeling. This shit is fucking weird, man. I trip out on it, and I wonder if people that were in church doing this stuff were actually channeling, which that shit's evil. I'm sorry. And I know that there's a lot of really sweet people that say like, oh, you know, this was channeled and I just want you to know it was so nice and everything like that about you. And I'm just like, that's nice, but who's doing that? Who's on the other line? You know? I've been given a lot of divine information. Lots. Amazing amounts full. And where people have tripped out on me because I have been knowing things, you know, about them that no one knew, or that they were thinking the moment they were thinking it, or maybe I've written things down and thrown a book through the air, and then as it hit the ground, the person was finishing what I had written down in the book because I heard it before they said it. And I have never heard an audible voice. Never. The only thing we ever heard, so I'll get into another time, is we heard a hellhound actually bark in our house when I was praying, and my daughter came out and was like, is there a dog in the house? And I knew that it was a real noise that I had heard. Other than that, no noises, no, Tony, you're to go do. What happened was I got my cellular memory activated, and I told that I had to be like thoughts, and I had to go get the rod and the staff, and that I was this Messiah, and all those different things, and I about fell to the ground crying because I did not know how I was supposed to do that. How am I supposed to go to Egypt? You know, what am I going to do? I was like really frustrated with God, and then this symbol flashed in my head, and I was led to Giza in Visalia, California. So I've never heard any voices, and I've never had to do any drugs or drink or anything to connect with that source or to have the truth illuminated inside of me. So I'm very weird about the channeling and stuff like that. It's kind of strange. But I have had some dreams, and I want to share those. And there are a lot of stuff. I've basically just been like setting up my videos so that I can share this stuff. A lot of people are like, why is she talking about herself so much? Well, here's the thing. And I'll do another video about this. I'm getting almost a half hour on this one. But here's the deal. You know, when I read a lot, or I watch a lot of these videos on YouTube, or I watch like the videos I got from Jeff and things like that, everybody's always like, yeah, the interviewer will be like, well, such and such. I mean, like, you know, what did this or that, or what, you know, what did you get? And they'll be like, I'm going to keep that to myself. You know what I mean? And you're like, what? Or you're like, well, what are your personal beliefs? Or like, who did you see, or who did you have an encounter with? But I think I'm going to let that be sacred. Wait a minute. Now, you want us to believe your outlandish fucking story, but yet you want to keep some shit to yourself? Like, I don't expect anybody to believe a word of what I'm saying if you don't know me. If I haven't told you about myself and where I'm coming from and my life story, how are you supposed to believe a word? I'm like, I'm not going to share my personal life. It's not about me. I'm just going to give you this information that you're supposed to follow. That's ridiculous. I mean, you should know who I am. You should know what I've been through. You should know what I've seen. You should know how I know the things I know, who I know, all those types of things. I mean, you need to know those things. There are references, you know, you need to check my references, you know. That's why I put things like, you know, yeah, I got fired for saying nigga. I'm not racist. You know, my boss had literally drugged me and then given me something for a cold and then told me like he didn't really know what he gave me. And we have been watching like nonstop Dave Chappelle and like shanking each other in the in the hallways of the college, you know, just like joking around, and then I got fired. It just, you know, it slipped out and I wasn't even on the clock. So that's why I post that stuff. So I'm like, you know, I don't want anybody to like, you know, gotta do it Cajun style. I'm Cajun. I don't know if I said that before, but I'm part Creole. And so, we can't be part Creole, either Creole or not. So I have French black, but that's Cajun style. You gotta go at it ahead of time. Tell your own true Hollywood story. You can't wait for no one else to tell it. So, but check it out. I think I was typing in light workers, and I think I typed in the level of the sun. One can reach the level of the sun by worship of multiple lesser energies, and then I think I typed in Demiurge, and it was ascensionhelp.com. Ascensionhelp.com, that's what it was. So check it out. The guy has a really interesting story about the Demiurge and like how he experienced, like they're really channeling. These people are like, they get addicted to the channeling. It's really crazy to me. They get addicted to the channeling and then they get lonely. When they break away from these energies, they actually get very lonely because they don't have anybody to talk to anymore. It's a trip to me. That is a trip to me anyways. Like just, it trips me out. The New Age movement is a fucking farce, you guys. Don't get wrapped up in it. Yeah, we're moving into a new age, but what does that even mean, you know? So the quarantine is still a quarantine. Multiple choice is no choice at all. Please remember that. Jesus is real. The Christos is real. The messiahs, the divinities, we're all real. We're all here. We're just normal people. And we have the truth of our existence and humanity and the Stargate system in our DNA. And that is the only thing that makes us special. We're servants. We're like literally servants. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, we agreed to stay behind to do this for everybody else. So when people spit on me and call me a whore and a Jezebel and all these things that I'm definitely not, fat. Come on, see I'm fat because I have like the gigantic tits to make me look fat on camera. I'm aware of it. I've had them my whole life. I didn't have them put in there, and stuff like that. It's like, okay, yeah, you know, that hurts, but at the same time, it's like, man, I've gone through so much in my life to prove all that. It's not the opposite. It's not really hitting too deep, you know. So that's it. The duality, you know, always trying to figure out who's a liar and who's the truth. Maybe they're both liars. Ever think of that? Or maybe they're both telling the truth. You can't get stuck in duality. Even astrology. People say, oh, I'm a Gemini. I have an evil and a bad. Maybe you have two goods. Or maybe you have two fucking bads. How about that? You know, so people do. But whenever I meet Geminis, I always say, well, you could have two good personalities. And it's like, it never dawned on them that they could have two good personalities. That's sad to me. So that's it. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for all you guys' support and kind words and everything. I really do appreciate them. Like I said, there are a lot of people hitting me pretty hard. I delete their comments so you don't have to read them, but they do bum me out. I know my husband's always like, what the hell you let that get to you? And I'm just like, I don't know, just because it, you know, it's discouraging, but I just try to think that they're not real people. So, and I thank everybody for just being really nice and supportive and encouraging. And we're all in this together, and I hope we all make it. I know some people are not going to make it, but most of us will make it, and I am confident in that.